Hey there, Brian Floyd from the Campaign School here, your guide to winning your election, bringing you a video case study today on negative mail. This is effectively a part three of a case study that I'm doing on a city council race here in Pasadena, California, between the appointed incumbent Andy Wilson and his most financed challenger Phil Hosp. In part one, we looked at the signs that the two candidates were doing, what they're doing right, what they're doing wrong, what you can learn from it. In part two, we learned the essence, the seven keys to good glossy mailers. We looked at a mailer from Mr. Hosp. We looked at a mailer from Mr. Wilson and graded them and looked at them about what they were doing right, what they were doing wrong, and what you can learn from them. And so today I want to talk to you about negative mailers. That's why I'm wearing the black today. I'm channeling my inner Johnny Cash. We're going negative. We're going dark. So I wanted to fit the part. So I know that a lot of people don't like the idea of going negative in a campaign. And the truth is, there's a good chance you're going to have to. In the words of the late Senator from Texas, Lloyd Benson, politics is a full contact sport. That means there's a good likelihood you're going to get hit and that you're going to get hit hard. And if that's the case, then not only do you need to be prepared to get hit, but you've got to be prepared to go on the attack as well. So you've got to be willing to take the hit. You've got to be also willing to lay the hit. And so both Andy Wilson and Phil Hosp have been going at each other. They've been going pretty negative for a while here. Phil actually started it. He leveled Andy with some good pieces, and Andy's responded in kind. And so the question that I have, though, even though they have to go negative, or believe that they do, are their mailers effective? Are the hits working? So just as there are seven rules for glossy mailers, which we discussed in the last case study, there are also seven rules for going negative. And I want to discuss those with you real quick, and then we'll get into looking at their mail. The first rule of going negative is don't go negative unless you have to. So how do you know if you have to? Well, one, your race is close. Two, your race is tied. Or three, you're behind. Now, if it's close, if it's tied, or you're behind, there's a good chance that you're going to have to go negative if you want to win. Second, the second rule of going negative is always keep your attacks truthful. Now, I know there's a lot of mug that gets thrown around in campaigns and people get accused of lying. Don't lie. Don't lie on your campaign. Source your hits. Make sure everything that you say is factual. This doesn't mean that you can't have a different opinion on an issue than your opponent, but tell the truth, because the truth is, you're going to get found out that you didn't tell the truth in a hit, and it has a potential of backfiring, and it has a grave potential for harming your character. And people don't like to vote for people who don't have character. The third thing is, never let your attacks get personal. This happens far too often, and the truth is, the voters don't like it. Don't let your attacks get personal. Don't get into things about family and such like that. It just isn't worth it, and it's not what it's about. Because everyone has something in their lives, in their past, that they really don't want aired out in front of everybody, and the voters do respond very negatively if you go personal. So on that note, the fourth rule about going negative is only attack on the issues that the voters care for. So you're going to keep your attacks to the issues rather than going personal, but you're also going to narrow it down so that you are only attacking on issues that the voters care for. If it's something the voters don't care for, you shouldn't be talking about it in the first place, let alone attacking your opponent on it. The fifth rule, and it ties into the fourth rule, is never respond to attacks that don't matter. If your opponent whacks you on something that absolutely does not resonate with your constituents, leave it alone. Let them waste their money and keep hitting you on that. You go out there and collect the votes and you go win on election day. Now, the sixth rule of going negative, and this is a very important one, and people mess this up all the time, always respond to the attack in the medium in which you were attacked. That means if you got attacked in the mail, you need to respond in the mail. If you got attacked on phone calls, you respond on the phone. You get attacked on TV, you respond on TV. You get attacked in a Facebook ad, you respond in a Facebook ad. Your audience needs to be the same that you're responding to that saw the attack against you. And there are times you do have to respond because an unanswered attack often, especially if it's a good hit, is going to be taken to believe the truth. So you've got to get your side out there too, or at least you need to punch your opponent back as hard as they punched you. So the seventh rule, and this is important in all aspects of campaigning, specifically in doing mail and specifically in doing attacks, is always keep your attacks simple. Don't get confusing. Don't get lost in the weeds. Keep the attack very, very, very simple so that people understand it and go, oh, that's not a good thing. I don't like that about so-and-so. I don't think I'm going to be voting for them. That's the kind of attack you want to lay. So let's start. I want to start with the negative piece that Phil Hosp sent out first, because it's actually not the first piece he sent. But Phil started this battle here. He obviously, he's a challenger. He felt he was behind or that it was close, and he decided to lay a hit. So let's examine a negative piece from Phil Hosp's campaign. This piece, oh boy, this piece violates so many rules of doing mail whatsoever. I mean, it is just not good. I mean, oh boy. So, the seventh rule about keeping your attacks simple, I think that's the first rule here, because this is not a simple place. So, are your attacks truthful? I would say that there is a good chance that these attacks are truthful. Phil seems to source this with council documents that he has on his website. He also seems to source it with the Pasadena Star News. And on the back, he has a huge timeline that even includes a mayor email to the mayor that seems to indict Andy in being caught up with developers here. So that it is truthful. It doesn't go personal. I guess you could count that he goes to Disneyland with the developer as personal, but I got to say that if the issue is Andy Wilson's ties to developers who have project before the council and they're going off to Disneyland together, yeah, I don't consider that personal. I think that is a fair hit. Now, issues that the voters care about. The voters always care about development. They always care about overbuilding. And I do think this is an issue, especially when you can show that the incumbent council member may have ties that are either too close or inappropriate with a developer who has business before the council. I think that is a very good hit. So obviously if you're Andy, you need to respond to this, and he did. And it came back in the mail. But keeping the attack simple, oh my Lord, this piece of mail is an absolute disaster. First, no one really cares to read it. I mean, I'm doing a piece on this, and I don't think I've read the entire thing here. It is just way too convoluted. It's all over the place. It's too text heavy. The thing is, it could be a very, very simple hit. It could be Andy Wilson is in the pocket of developers, or Andy Wilson vote is for sale. I think those are both really good hits. I mean, the developer paid $10,000 to Andy Wilson's nonprofit and pledged $20,000 more. Woo! I think those are really good hits. Influence peddling. You're talking over the head of a lot of people. You want to get right to the core of the issue. Bought and paid for. This piece should say Andy Wilson is bought and paid for. That would make an effective hit. It needs to be a lot simpler. It really does. So I think what Phil wants to do could absolutely work. I think it absolutely does not work in this piece. So next I want to take a look at Andy Wilson's hit piece. And, I just got this today. So the election is less than a week from now. And wow, it is... I really, really don't like this piece. So don't go negative unless it's close, tight, or you're behind. Obviously, Andy feels that he's there. Always keep your attacks truthful. In this piece, what they're laying out is that Phil isn't really from Pasadena, that he's from the city of Santa Monica. And I think putting these documents in here and highlighting certain things, I think that is perfect. It shows that it is a very truthful hit. Phil obviously probably has some things to say about that. He doesn't let his attacks go personal. That's very clear. Attack on the issues that voters care about. I think carpetbagging is an issue that voters care about, especially the older the community is. In California, a lot of communities are older, and that does have an effect. But the other thing in California, a lot of communities are somewhat newer and somewhat transient. So it may not matter. But this is probably going to resonate with people who have lived here for a long time. He's clearly responding to Phil. Phil's hitting him, so he's hitting him back. So Andy's doing that. He's doing it in the medium in which he was attacked. and keep your attack simple. Oh my Lord, this one falls apart too. I mean, I don't know what's wrong with these guys. So the front piece of the mail does not give you the impression that it is an attack. Santa Monica is a fine place to live. It almost looks like it's an advertisement to go live in Santa Monica. It looks like it's a positive piece for Phil. You got the city hall there. You got the beach. The beach is beautiful. You got a nice picture of Phil. If you're going to use a picture of your opponent, don't use the nice picture. Go take a picture of them while they're giving a speech with their mouth open. That is the perfect picture to use on these. Phil Hosp lived in Santa Monica for years and only registered to vote in Pasadena 1 year before running for council. That is a pretty good issue. That's a good issue. They should be saying Phil Hosp is a carpetbagger. Phil Hosp doesn't really live here. Phil Hosp isn't one of us. You know, Phil did a mailer. We covered his positive mailer in the last case study about basically saying that he's one of us, that he grew up here. Well, look, he may have grown up here, but he doesn't live here. That should be the point of this, and it should be dark. It should be dreary. It looks pretty. It looks nice. If you're only looking at this for 3 seconds, which most people will be, this piece actually may be getting votes for Phil Hosp. It actually looks nice and it looks positive. I would not send that piece whatsoever. So when you look at these two pieces, when you look at these negatives, you know, all I can say is that I'm very, very disappointed in the negative mail from these campaigns. I mean, that may sound weird. I'm disappointed in the negative mail that came from these campaigns, but I am. As a campaign professional, I am. Those mailers are a waste of money. Don't waste your money like this. If you're going to do the hit, do it right. They did not do the hit right here at all. So, you know, they have good and they have valid attacks on each other. I think that's very clear. But they are horribly executed in these mailers. So, just like their positive mailers, their negative mailers had the potential to be really good, really strong, and really punch through the voters. And these mailers just don't do it. They just don't do it. So my advice to you, as always, is make sure you do your mail right. If you have to go negative, do it right. So go onto our website, thecampaignschool.com, and search for an article called The 7 Rules for Going Negative on Political Campaigns. It lays out the 7 rules that are there, and it gives you a little more detail on those. And I will be back in our next case study video. I'm going to keep going with Andy Wilson and Phil Hosp. And we're going to look at comparison pieces. I think comparison pieces are some of the most effective things that you can do on a campaign. And I've received a comparison from Mr. Wilson's campaign. I've received a comparison from Mr. Hosp's campaign. And let's take a look at them, see if they're doing those right. So until then, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for allowing us to provide this advice to your campaigns. And remember that the Campaign School is your guide to winning your election.